Hey guys, and welcome to part 2 of Let's Play Super Meat Boy. In the last part we had just finished the forest and saw that hilarious cutscene with the squirrel, so now we are moving on to Chapter 2, the hospital, and here's a cutscene for you to enjoy. So obviously that's a nice little homage to the Castlevania series there. Now the hospital is where things, for me anyway, really start to get difficult. One of the main things they do is they introduce this mechanic where there's maybe shattered glass or used syringes, I guess, since it's a hospital, all over the ground, so you can't touch the ground for much of these levels, or you'll die instantly. Other things that can kill you instantly in these levels, new hellish enemies and hazards they've introduced, include these laser gates, I'm gonna call them. If you touch in between the gates, then you die, as you might expect. They also introduce homing missiles, or heat-seeking missiles, and lasers that will just fry you instantly. All of them, huge pains in the ass, but none so much as the spikiness on the ceiling and the floor, I think, because this will really cause you to get some frustrating deaths. And there's my first one, but you know what? Before I do these takes, I practice a lot, because I think you guys want to see some deaths. You don't want to see how many deaths I would normally get. The Let's Plays would be 45 minutes long per chapter. So over the weekend, I actually managed to beat this game, at least so far as to see unending. I'm not sure if it's the best ending, but I saw unending, and I gotta say, some of the stuff they throw at you in those last levels is borderline impossible, just unfair. The stuff here with the fans, I used to think was incredibly difficult, but not even close to some of the BS they throw at you once you get to World 6, or, you know, even when you beat the game, they give you an extra world, which is quite rough. Alright, let's just handle this right here. The fans are a really annoying gameplay mechanic because if you get too close to them, obviously they blow you back, but they'll also cut you up if you fall into them, so you've really got to work the physics puzzles quite well. I'm just going to take a second pass and try to do this like a boss. There we go. All in all, these levels, after you've played through the rest of the game, don't seem that bad. And you can see I'm A+ing them all pretty much right here. Another enemy they introduce, or hazard I should say, is these beetle type things right here. And it kind of looks like the spiky turtles that Ch.2 drops in the Mario series. Guess what? You touch those, you die instantly. As with pretty much everything in this game that isn't the ground. And I got chirped a little bit on my last video. People were saying I kind of suck at the game. Particularly because I didn't have very many bandages, and you know what? That is a valid concern. I'm not great at getting bandages. I finished the game, and I think right now I have only 23 bandages. So, you know, I hope you guys weren't trying to hurt me, because really you're just confirming what I already know, which is I'm not fantastic at getting these bandages. Alright, so here, once you reach like 2.9, 2.10, 2.11, the difficulty starts to ramp up a little bit. As you can see, I'm just getting destroyed by that saw. The game really loves this mechanic where they have two saws and you have to wall jump between them. But once you get on, like this one doesn't seem too bad, there's a pretty wide berth for you to go through. But yeah, once you get a little bit further in the game, those gates are much, much smaller. You essentially have to be pixel perfect with your jumps. This is actually the first time I've ever beaten this level with Super Meat Boy, or I guess just Meat Boy. Normally I use a hidden character or an unlockable character who is Jill, who has kind of air brakes that you can use to navigate, which I find makes it much easier, but I figured I'd stick with Meat Boy for the purposes of this Let's Play. This is another new mechanic that the game introduces, the keys that lock or unlock the locks that you're standing upon as you're standing on them. And it gets much worse than that, trust me. Keys become very important in this game. Oftentimes you'll need to get one to unlock a cage that Bandage Girl is in, or perhaps even more often to unlock another key, which will unlock a cage that unlocks the cage Bandage Girl is in. Say that 5 times fast. I'm not really sure what these purple things are. It looks like maybe a grape Jolly Rancher or something. And yeah, so there's another key mechanic, because there's a bandage on this level. You've got to get all the way to the top, get the key without touching Bandage Girl, go all the way back down to the bottom, get the bandage, and then come back up to the top. These fans are a serious pain in the ass, I've got to say. Yeah, and there's the ground killing me again. But nothing in comparison to the lasers that come later. They come out instantly, as you might expect, considering it's, light. And yeah, they'll just ruin your day. And of course, oftentimes they're bisecting or they're running in concurrent paths, so... Alright, so that wasn't too bad. Normally this level is kind of my Everest in World 2. Wall jumps I can deal with, but the fans, I just can't work those physics. And I think most of you guys could probably relate to that, at least when you start playing the game. So you can see there's a warp zone on this level above in the skyscraper up there. I've already gotten it, so I'm not going to get it, but I'm kind of torn on how I'm going to deal with warp zones during this Let's Play. I think if there's one I haven't gotten and I can get it, I'll go through it. But I also want to make sure that every part fits under the 15 minutes that YouTube allows. So it's going to be a toss-up. It's going to be a give and take. You see, I got a little cocky on this level with the lasers. I tried to take the short way and ended up getting my ass handed to me, pretty much. But for the most part, one of the best parts about Super Meat Boy is once you progress further in the game and then come back to where you were, levels that you thought were impossible, actually quite easy, and it's a really rewarding sense of progress that I think the game does fantastically well. Like, these levels probably took me 4 or 5 minutes each the first time I did them, but now, not really that difficult at all. Dodge the lasers. Oh, Bandage Girl's going crazy, you know what that means. Alright, so we enter a kind of glitch world when something like this happens. And I'm not really sure what sets off or triggers the fact that you can get to these worlds. But what I do know is that every single one of them is hard as hell. And usually when you beat them, you get some kind of reward in the way of an ending screen or a congratulations screen, I should say. Alright, so you only get 3 lives on these. But the good news is you can play them again whenever you want. They become kind of a gold square at the start of, at the level select screen. Which is good because you're probably going to need more than one attempt to beat most of these. And as you can see, I just got cut in half again. There's another one of these. This is only the second one I've gotten, so you guys are witnessing kind of lightning in a bottle. But I got it on the first level, and I've actually beaten that level, which took me a long time. But in any case, yeah. That's kind of another cool unlockable in the game. Yeah, you can see the yellow square at the start there if you go back. So now let's try to beat this level for real. And not get torn in half by the lasers, if possible. Yeah, so you can see there's levels in this game that you don't even, you can't even fathom there being, if you understand what I'm saying. That you don't expect them to be there. Like the warp zones, yes. But then sometimes spontaneously you'll just unlock levels like that. If anyone knows how to get that bandage in the center, please let me know, because I feel like it's just taunting me. Like, game designers just laughing their asses off while I'm up here trying to figure out some way to get inside of that rotating saw hell prison. And when the first time you see this level, you're just like, oh man, game designers, huge dicks, huge assholes. But really, again, nothing in comparison to what happens later. Over the weekend, actually, I finally crossed the 20 bandages threshold, so I unlocked Ch.2 internets, which is kind of, I guess, DLC. I'm not sure if it's user created or if it's developer created. My assumption is that it's developer created. And those levels, some of them are even harder than the later levels in the game. So the game really has an unfair level of difficulty, but I mean that in the best way possible. Because again, as I mentioned in my first part of this Let's Play, the fact that the game has such a momentum, i.e. the music doesn't stop when you die and you respawn so quickly, it means death isn't really that frustrating. I mean, it's frustrating after a half an hour when you're on the same level, but for the most part, it's just a natural part of Super Meat Boy life, let's say. This is the second last level, if you include the boss, on the hospital. And there is a bandage on this level, and I'll show you where to get that. But I have already gotten it myself, so it won't appear. Basically, instead of jumping onto this fan, you would take this wall down and enter that room at the bottom. Now this is, I know I said a couple levels ago was my Everest. This jumping puzzle is actually a serious problem for me. I just can never seem to get it right. Oh, I almost got it, but then, yeah, fall right back down to the bandage room. And, you know, be forewarned, this will probably be 30 or 40 seconds of me pretty much failing hard at this jump. So far, so bad. And, you know, as you're watching this, you're probably thinking, how did this guy beat the game? It looks like he's got blood clots in his hands. He can't even make this simple jumping puzzle. Well, I don't know what to tell you. This one's just, doesn't work with my brain, I guess. Slipped off again. It's like a combination of the two things I do worst at in this game. Is fans and jumping puzzles. Pretty much the whole game is a jumping puzzle too, so, yeah. There we go. A+. That can't possibly be right. Alright, so here we go. We're gonna move on to Chad and enjoy this cutscene. Oh, isn't he cute? So essentially we're fighting Chad, who is a giant ball of meat sludge, as best as I can fathom anyway. This is actually quite similar to the first boss, and essentially you're just trying to get to the end of the stage without dying. And the way you do that is by getting these keys which unlock those gates at the top, and then simply moving to the top as fast as you can. This level is actually pretty hard. I was doing well there until I fell into the... would that be a gravy ocean? Is that blood? I'm not really sure. If it's blood, this game should get an M rating, I suppose. Most blood I've ever seen in any game. But yeah, the level is actually pretty difficult, and all of the boss levels are usually an order of magnitude harder than the actual gameplay levels before them. Ah, and I got totally destroyed by him. But the good thing is, all of the bosses have a pattern, so it's that really old school kind of mechanic where if you just memorize the patterns, eventually, just through basically brute forcing it, you're gonna get it. And that's good because it also means that when you go back and play it later, you're gonna do much better. So you can really feel your improvement as you move along, let's say. See, all I gotta do is jump over to the right here, get that key, and that unlocks another key, and then when I get that, it should be the end. There we go. Actually a pretty good run. After being exposed to the sunlight, he gets all beady-eyed. I'm not sure what's up with that, but enjoy the cutscene again. I love the narrative style so much in this game. So anyway, that was Chapter 2, The Hospital. And next we're going to be moving on to Chapter 3, The Salt World. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.